Today we are going to work on rounding decimals. This is a real life skill. You can use it again with money, with gas, with sports. Annika actually used it last year at state track. There she is with her gold medal, state champ. Woo woo. Good job, Annika. What happened last year at state track is our timers that the officials used, they would keep time to the nearest thousandths place. So let's say Annika ran her race in 32 seconds, 32 and 492 thousandths of a second. Okay, so their stopwatch goes all the way to the thousandths place, but the officials had to report that number to the nearest hundredths place. So every single person that ran a race, they would have to round it from the thousandths to the hundredths. We're going to do a quick review about rounding, and then I'm going to show you how to do that. So remember from last year, if the number is 5 or more, we raise the score. 4 or less, we let it rest. Okay, let's say our number is 392 thousandths. We have to round that to the nearest hundredths place. First step, underline the place value, which is the hundredths place. Look next door, 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, we let it rest. Well, the 2 is 4 or less, so the 9 stays the same. Before, when we rounded, everything after the place value became a 0. When we were rounding numbers that were larger than 1. But this time, it actually just gets chopped off. So our answer is 39 hundredths. When the number is before the decimal, so bigger than, 1, we have to add a 0 in the place value so the number stays in its place value. But if it's after the decimal, the extra numbers after the decimal, they just get chopped off. Okay, let's try this number, 527 thousandths to the nearest hundredths place. Underline the hundredths. Look next door. 5 or more, we raise the score, which means the 2 is going to come up to a 3. Everything in front of it now stays the same. Everything behind it gets chopped off. So we just have 53 hundredths. Okay, now this page is like part of your assessment. Let's pretend that Annika's back down at straight track and she's running with 4 people. The first person was able to run the race in 14 and 752 thousandths of a second. Now remember, we have to report that to the nearest hundredths. So we have to round these numbers to the nearest hundredth. Well, if it's 5 or more, we raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. Going to the nearest hundredths, so we look next door. We let it rest because it's 4 or less. Everything in front of it stays the same. So our number just becomes 14 and 75 hundredths. I'm going to put that right here in the reported time. This person ran a little slower. Maybe they got a cramp. We have to round it to the nearest hundredths. Underline the place value. Look next door. 5 or more. So we raise the score, which means the 5 becomes a 6. We get rid of that 7. Everything in front of the number stays the same. So if we round this number, it becomes 24 and 66 hundredths. All right, the next person ran the race in 17 and 910 thousandths of a second. Again, we're going to round to the nearest hundredths place. So we underline the hundredths. Look next door. It's 4 or less, so we let it rest, which means the 1 stays the same. Everything in front of the 1 stays the same, and we just lop off that 0. So this number rounded to the nearest hundredths becomes 17 and 91 thousandths. 91 hundredths, I'm sorry. All right, let's say this was Annika's time. 14 and 738 thousandths of a second. Got to round it to the nearest hundredths. Underline the hundredths place, look next door. 5 or more, we raise the score, which means the 3 goes up to a 4. We get rid of the 8. everything in front of that number stays the same. So her time is 14 and 74 hundredths of a second, which means that she won this race, hence the gold medal. Good luck on your assessment, guys.